Hey there, guys. It's Jake again. It's been a while since I did one of these sorts of videos. I can't even really remember the last time I did one of those, talking straight to the camera update videos or whatever you want to call this. But I wanted to talk about something that I have been wanting to discuss, or I guess monologue about. The thing is, this has been kind of weighing heavily on me for a while now. Because I didn't know how exactly I've wanted to say this, and how I wanted to introduce it. Because the thing is, once I go over this topic in a public forum, there's not really a way to go back from it. But at this point, I've just kind of come to terms with the fact that, you know what, fuck it, it can't get much worse. So before I get into the meat of this whole thing, I think I should probably address the elephant in the room here. Something that most of you have noticed is that especially the last year or so, maybe a little bit less than a year, I'm sure a lot of you have noticed that I haven't been uploading as consistently to this channel as I used to for a solid, honestly, like 2 or 3 years there. Out of nowhere, I just started kind of uploading a video here or there, maybe a couple times a week, and a lot of people have drawn the conclusion that, oh, well, around this time last year in June, Jake announced this new channel, Jalps, and that he's doing with Alex, and that's been taking up a lot of his time, and it's made it more difficult for him to focus on his main channel, and honestly, that really, maybe a little bit. I'm not going to say that that doesn't play any part into this whole thing, but it doesn't play nearly as big of a factor as some may believe. While that has taken up time for me, the main issue when it comes to the lack of uploads of late, I guess, is a multitude of things, and I kind of was lying to myself that, oh, well, it's school, or it's this family thing that came up, or I'm sick, or so on and so forth. But the truth is not that. The truth is that I've just kind of lost a lot of the passion that I had originally possessed going into doing this YouTube thing back when I was 18 years old, all the way in 2013. I was, fiery and really into this, and I was super, looking forward to the future, and things were looking up, and things were looking bright. Within a few months, I already had upwards of a couple thousand subscribers. I was super excited for the direction my channel was going in, and I thought to myself, well, you know what, based off of all the success, there really can't be any other direction than forward. And for a while it went that way, but I'd say sometime in 2015 things kind of halted a little bit, and I wish there was like a particular point where I could say, oh, that's where things didn't go as well as I would have liked. But that never really happened. The truth is that it was accumulation of really just time and experience. I think that based off of the fact that I went into this when I was much, a good bit younger, with no understanding of what the fuck I was doing, I underestimated how YouTube works, and I thought that it was just, upload whatever you want, and some people will find you, and they'll love your stuff, and if you get enough of those people, you stack enough of them on top of each other, all of a sudden you have a big, successful YouTube channel. In truth, in reality, that's not the case at all. For those of you who are not familiar, and I'm not going to get too big into this, but there are, algorithms and things of that nature that severely affect new eyes coming to your channel and the success therein. At first, it didn't really make much of a difference based off of, my channel was new and things were a little bit more Wild West when I first started. And but the problem is that since I never really gained an understanding until maybe a year or two ago, I didn't really gain an understanding of exactly how the website worked. I just kind of was throwing a bunch of shit at the wall to see what stuck. And the truth is that that's not how you garner a successful channel on YouTube. You can't just hope that one of the things will work out. Eventually, the algorithm or whatever it might be is going to see that, oh, this guy's not really actually doing anything consistent. We're not going to bother with him. I've gone through so many different style changes throughout the years that I feel like it has severely fractured my audience, you guys. There was a time where I did some face cam and some not. And then I switched over to no face cam whatsoever to try to build some semblance of consistency. But then I realized that the truth is that audiences connect better when you do have face cam. And so I switched over to that. But where the problem with all of that is that you're going to get different types of people that are interested in your videos when you do things like that. I mean, when I was doing no face cam for as long as I did, which was late 2014 all the way into the beginning of 2016, a big part of the mentality behind all of that was, hey, I'm going to make sure that the game is sort of the focal point, and I'm kind of the backdrop that adds some entertainment value to go with it. The problem with this is that makes it very difficult for people to gain any sort of attraction to you, the personality. And at the end of the day, YouTube forces you to be a personality-driven sort of thing so people can connect. Once again, my understanding or misunderstanding of how this stuff worked severely affected my success early on. Once I started to wise up to the reality of YouTube, I decided to start doing face cam, and at first things seemed to be looking up. It looked as if, okay, people are connecting better and all of that. But by that point, when I started to get the message and started to comprehend what I needed to do, the saturation of the platform had become so great that it's hard to really climb on top of the mountain anymore. I mean, this isn't something a lot of YouTubers talk about, but the truth is, and I'm going to sound like such a whiny bitch when I say this, the truth is that most YouTubers I know share a similar opinion that they don't really know how anybody, at least in the gaming field, can really gain any success at this juncture in time because the market is so saturated, because so many people are trying to do it. And the funny thing is that unless your channel is very young and you have a particular type of personality to go with it and maybe a certain look, there's a very high likelihood you're not going to see an immense amount of success to go with it. Your ceiling is relatively low, so to speak. Now, I understand this probably makes me sound a bit sour grapes, and I understand why some may get that perception, but honestly, I'm not upset, I'm not angry or anything. I get how it works, and I'm just saying what I truly believe to be reality. Maybe I'm mistaken, but that's just kind of been my perception over the last couple of years. The reason why I'm explaining and prefacing all of this is to help you guys understand another facet of why things have been going south for me in terms of upload schedule, and it's a feeling of futility. On top of the pressures of how quickly you gain your success and how you gain your success, there's also the facet of what types of games you can gain your success with, which, as time has gone on, is progressively seeming to dwindle. The types of games that I personally gained my success on were longer form multi-part series such as Thief, Alien, Wolfenstein: The New Order, Life is Strange, games like that. The problem is that in the past several years, and I feel like it started with Five Nights at Freddy's, and I could be wrong, but a lot of YouTube audiences in the gaming sphere have grown to expect quicker, shorter playthroughs and a wider variety of games in a shorter period of time. Because of this, it's made a lot of channels that relied on multi-part playthroughs sort of obsolete. Especially RPG-centric channels. I'm not one of them, luckily, but you know, there are a lot of people that enjoy series such as Mass Effect or Dragon Age or something like that, and that's the opposite of what is conducive for a channel, a gaming channel, at this day and age. Doing a 60-part playthrough just doesn't make any sense because, and this is just the God's honest truth, people lose interest. That's why I didn't finish the Witcher 3 playthrough a couple years ago, was because people were interested at first, but very quickly they lost interest, and I started to gain viewers from it as, you know, the months and years went on. But the problem is that you need that immediate spark, and if you don't, every single day you upload a video, the more the algorithm is basically going to hate you. So this is just, there's this constant balance that you have to maintain, and it leaves you with a very limited amount of games that you can go for. And I've been featuring a lot of those games that I feel like would either gain some semblance of attention, or would at least maintain some attention on the channel. And those are usually story-centric games, horror-centric games, mostly first-person, things like that. That's the sort of thing that a lot of YouTubers gain their popularity on. Every once in a while, if you're lucky, you can stumble onto some sort of cult-like title, such as Five Nights at Freddy's, what I mentioned before. But those only come once in a blue moon, and you really just kind of have to stumble into it. There's no way to be certain what the next one is going to be, unfortunately. The problem with this is that so many channels are virtually pigeonholed into a certain type of game, and that's all they can do, and that really sucks, you know? I mean, there's a lack of variety for the uploader, and so it's very difficult to maintain a level of enthusiasm, regardless of whether or not you think the game itself has its own merit. So I guess that was a really long-winded way of saying that I'm kind of bored, and that's really fed into my lack of interest and my lack of want to upload things consistently. I want to go ahead and mention something real quick, because I'm sure some people have been wondering, but as of the date of this video, about a week ago, I uploaded the first part to Perception. And that's a big catalyst for why I'm uploading this video. It is a microcosm of what I'm talking about right now. It's a game that looks kind of decent, but at the end of the day, it just doesn't have anything that took hold of me. I played a little bit more of it, and I just didn't give a shit. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I liked the mechanic of it going in, but after the first hour, there's just not much to keep my interest. And so, unfortunately, I'm sure some people are going to be annoyed by this, but I'm going to have to discontinue it, because I don't want to lie. I don't want to pretend that I'm in any way interested in something when I'm just not. That happened to me last year when I was playing this game called Lethe as well, or Lethe, or however you pronounce it. And it's just a pattern that I've noticed, is that there's just a lot of games in the same sort of ilk, that some of them are good and some of them I really like, and then others I don't, and there's just not much I can do about that. Now, the other part of this that I want to discuss real quick, and I'm sorry, I'm going way over what I was hoping this video was going to be, but I have a lot to say here, so I guess think of it as kind of a podcast. But the other thing that feeds into this feeling of boredom is, and this is a big issue, is the face cam. Look, I can appreciate the reason why so many people enjoy face cam. There's a level of intimacy that comes with it, and you can enjoy the reactions that people have to playing whatever game that it is for that one given video, and there's sort of a connection there, and I totally understand why people like that. The problem is, and this is really more so just in my case specifically, for whatever reason, I just don't feel the same when I'm recording with Facecam, and it's solely when it's me. On Jalps lately, we've been doing Facecam. On Jalps, it's fine. There's no issues whatsoever. It's specifically when I'm doing this stuff by myself, and I feel like it's because I'm conscious of the face cam in that moment, and due to that, I don't know, my personality kind of changes a little bit, and I feel a little bit more bland than I usually am. I remember, I look back at the playthroughs that I did before I started doing face cam, whether it be Dragon Age Inquisition or something like that. And although the equipment wasn't as good, and I certainly feel I was a lot more immature as a person, and I don't really like a lot of the videos I did back then, but I was a lot more lively, I felt. I reacted to things more quickly, and I was able to perceive the story that was in front of me better, and I just was better. I just felt like I was better for what I was at that time. And I had that same revelation. I remember the reason why I stopped doing Facecam at one point, back, in 2014, the reason I stopped was because the first like 5 parts of the Alien Isolation playthrough, I had Facecam, and I just felt like I wasn't me during that. And then I turned off Facecam, and I felt way better as I was playing. I felt like I could just focus on the gameplay as opposed to making sure I'm always in frame and making sure, I don't slip up and say something improperly, and there's just a lot of extra moving parts in my brain as Facecam is going on that distracts me from what I should be focusing on, which is the gameplay and the commentary. And the last factor that goes into my lack of uploads lately, and this is a more recent one, is based off of a lot of the new stuff that's going on with YouTube. For those of you who are not familiar, there was a big to-do involving PewDiePie a couple months ago, and some people theorize that based off of a hit piece that the Wall Street Journal wrote on him, that it caused a lot of advertisers to become, I suppose, nervous about him, and a lot of them pulled from YouTube altogether because they're not certain what kind of content is on the site, and they don't want to be represented in a bad way. Now, I'm of the impression, personally, before I get into this, I'm of the impression, based off of everything I've ever heard about advertisers, none of them really actually have convictions. They don't actually give a shit. They're just waiting for the problem to die down, and then they'll put their money back in. Most of the time, that's the case. Based off of the history of radio, which I have studied a decent bit, similar things happen. Same thing with TV. But that doesn't really change what's going on right now. And the truth is that this whole advertiser thing is hitting most people in YouTube really fucking hard. Most people are seeing close to 60-70% drops in income. That's fucking insane. It's almost like being fired from your job, like how bad the ad revenue is at the moment, which is why you're seeing a lot more YouTubers having mid-roll ads and stuff like that throughout their videos. It's not because they want to do that shit. It's because they want to be able to make something close to the same amount of money they were just back in fucking, December. And I'm no exception to this rule, by the way. I've been hit pretty fucking hard by this whole ad revenue thing as well. Already, I wasn't making an immense amount of money off of this channel, but I was making enough to where it made sense to keep putting time and effort into it. But now, I mean, goddamn, like I'm hardly making anything off this channel, and I don't want to bitch about finances or anything like that, but there is a certain point where you've got to talk to yourself and say, hey, look, am I being economical with my time right now by pouring into recording, editing, purchasing games, by the way? That's a big part that nobody seems to remember. Doing all this stuff, does it make sense to do all of that, despite the fact I'm not making much money, and also I don't even like doing it that much anymore? It just doesn't make a lot of sense when you put it that way, right? So that's why lately I've been kind of racking my brain trying to figure out exactly what do I personally want to do to alleviate this problem. And I've got a couple options. One of them is just shutting the whole channel down entirely. Now, that might scare some people. That's not really something I'm thinking about. Even though the channel hasn't exactly gone the direction I wanted it to, at the end of the day, this is kind of my baby. I made this thing, and it's from scratch, and I'm proud of it in a way, despite the fact that it hasn't been on the uptick that I originally thought it would have. But because that's not really much of an option, in my opinion, I have to reanalyze what exactly am I doing and what should I do going forward. I look at what I do in Jalps, and I feel that there is a legitimate potential ceiling there that really goes up pretty high. Number one, because I know what I'm doing now, kind of. Like, I'm not like I was when I was 18. I have a better understanding of how this shit works. On top of that, I also have another person that I can bounce ideas off of and collaborate with on a lot of the stuff that we're doing on the channel. And of course, last but not least, I really enjoyed doing it. That was kind of the idea I had with this channel to begin with, was to do collaborations, to do things with my friends or people that I like, and just have a lot of fun. Unfortunately, that's not how this channel ended up going, because a lot of the people that I originally had these ideas with went on to do different things, which is fine, but that's just how it went. So I was stuck doing this stuff by myself, and I enjoyed doing it for a time, but as we've already mentioned, that's kind of starting to change a little bit, at least in its current form. So if I am stuck doing things the way I'm currently doing them on Offensive Jake, I start to look at what I'm doing on Jalps and thinking, well, at the end of the day, which one do I want to do more? Which one is more important to me? And I look at Offensive Jake, and I recognize that most channels that have plateaued, they don't get going again after 4 years. That doesn't really happen. I can't think of a single channel where that has happened. So, in all likelihood, just based off of statistics, this channel ain't going much further in terms of viewer base. I've pretty much hit the peak. Unless I started a completely different channel and completely started over. Maybe in that case. But otherwise, probably not. So essentially what I'm saying with all of this is that when it comes right down to it, at this moment in time, Jalps is probably a little bit more important to me, just based off of the fact that it hasn't been around a super long time, and I feel like there's a lot of room for it to grow, where I don't feel that same way with this channel anymore. So now I have to think to myself, well, where do I go from here? What do I do with this channel, right? I can keep doing things the way I am currently, but once again, that's going to mean that I'm going to have pretty inconsistent uploads, which maybe some of you don't mind. I don't know. It might just be a channel where I throw things up every once in a while, and if you still want to stick around and watch, that's cool. But there is a second option. There's another option that I've thought about, and that's, why don't I just go back to the way things were? Why don't I just start doing things like I did at the end of 2015, where I just get rid of the face cam and just play whatever the fuck I want? And if that's, you know, whatever new game is out and I just want to upload fucking 30 parts of it and, you know, try to garner some views off of that, cool. Because the truth is, the weird thing about all this is that I've put myself in this mindset that you can only get success off of one way of doing things in the gaming community on YouTube. But the least successful my channel has ever been is now. And in 2016, when I wasn't doing this, or when I was doing this sort of thing, when I wasn't doing things the way I used to. Now, granted, my success was inconsistent from 2014 and 2015, but at least there was some. I was getting videos that were hundreds of thousands of views. That was happening. I haven't really reached a video. I don't think I've reached a video in the last 2 years over 10,000 views, if I've reached one with 5,000 views. You know what I mean? I mean, that is a massive disparity. And so maybe it has something to do with the saturation of the market, or maybe it just has something to do with me misconstruing the reality of how things are. You know, maybe I can get success off of the way things were. And even if I can't, at least I can make some money off of that. You know, at least I can do something with that. And furthermore, a lot of that's kind of irrelevant. Furthermore, the big thing is, do I enjoy doing it? If I'm not going to be making much money off this channel, I better damn sure at least be enjoying what I'm doing while I'm doing it, right? So I guess the big question with this entire video is, what should I do? I've balanced a lot of this stuff, but I feel like at this point, I don't really have a place to be just deciding to make such a big fucking change out of nowhere. So I guess number one, how would you guys feel if I stopped doing Facecam? Would it be a major issue? Would it be to the point that you would seriously consider not watching my videos anymore? And I guess a better way of putting it, because I don't want to, like, you know, strong arm you guys, which do you prefer? And just being honest, do you prefer Facecam, or did you prefer it when I didn't have Facecam? Which one is really a bigger thing for you? Because I might still do it. I'm not certain, but something's got to change. Something has to change here. And that's the other question is, what types of games do you want to see? You know, because at the moment, I'm getting kind of tired of doing the games I'm doing. I don't know. These fucking YouTube games, like, it's not why I got into this. The whole point of this job is to enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it, what's the fucking point? Because the amount of hours that I sunk into this is not worth the amount of money I've made. It's completely imbalanced. So at that point, it needs to be something I enjoy. So what are the types of games you'd like to see? And before you type your comment, I want to preface that I'm not interested in, you know, play this game, like exactly a game. That's not really what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for a multitude of types of games, you know, a genre potentially. Naming one obscure game from 2007 is not something that is really going to help me. Another way that you could put it is, what is your favorite time of my channel? Because I know most of you have been around for a while. Most of you found me at a certain point that predates my consistent Facecam time frame. So I want to know, was it like, I don't know, was it, you know, 2014, 2015 when I was doing games like Dragon Age Inquisition and The Witcher, and Soma, and Far Cry and stuff like that. Was that something was that your favorite time frame, or was it, this year and last year? Have you enjoyed my stuff more recently? And if that is the truth, I want you to be honest. I want you to tell me the truth. Don't sugarcoat it just to make me feel good. I want to know, because that is going to help me. I actually want help on this, and I want to plan things going forward, but I want to keep you guys in mind as I'm doing it. I can't guarantee I'm going to do everything that you like, but I'm going to try to at least find a compromise, a middle ground here. And I suppose the final thing that I want to say for this video is I've contemplated how to go about, earning some more money. Now, I don't want to get too far into finances, but, and I'm not like acting, like I'm homeless or anything. That is not the case whatsoever. I'm talking about, economically what makes sense. I don't want to spend an exorbitant amount of time on something that I'm not seeing a lot of return on. That's really what we're talking about here. Don't worry, I'm not, starving or anything like that. That is not the problem. That all having been said, I have been contemplating different ways that I could go about earning a little bit extra cash, so I, can keep doing this and doing it the way I want to do it. And I've thought about the prospect of streaming. Now, I've talked to a couple of my friends on YouTube and on Twitch for that matter, such as Sinnoh, John Wolf, Craven, people like that. And a lot of them have offered to help me in the way of streaming and to getting things set up and all of that. And they've seriously encouraged me to do it, like heavily so. And so I've thought about it a lot, and I'm really erring on the side of doing it at some point. I don't know when. I really have to look into how I want to do it and the settings and all that. I got to understand the ins and outs, because at the moment I'm completely lacking in any sort of knowledge in that area. But once I do, my question is, would you guys like to see something like that? Is that something that you would be interested in? I probably wouldn't do it on YouTube Gaming, because fuck YouTube. But I would probably do it on Twitch. I don't know how consistent it would be and when I would do it, but at least at first it would be a trial run sort of thing. And rest assured, that would be Facecam. That would absolutely be Facecam. So no need to worry on that. So that's another thing I'd like to ask. Actually, another last thing. This will be the last thing. I probably should have clarified for anybody who is newer to the channel, because I haven't really felt like I've paid much mind to you guys, the ones that have found me this year or maybe last year. Obviously, your opinions count too. Do not be afraid to say anything just because you feel like you're going to be in the minority. I really do want your opinion. Sorry, I just wanted to make that clear again. But the actual last thing I was going to talk about is for anybody who is new this year in particular. You might not be familiar with what Jalps is, because I haven't really talked about it a lot on the channel since I first announced it a year ago. Now, that is a collaborative channel where myself and my friend Alex, who have had on this channel many times over, my Until Dawn playthrough is entirely of me and him, if you'd like a frame of reference. That channel is entirely personality driven. Like, there is absolutely nothing else to it. We talk over cutscenes, we talk over the game at all times. We pay very little mind to the actual game that's happening. It's mostly just myself and Alex shooting the shit, talking about a bunch of nonsense, being idiots all the time, and we cut it up a lot, so we take out, like, out of 40 minutes of footage that we record for a single video, we'll condense it down to somewhere between 10 to 15 minutes, maybe at most up to 20. But it's sort of like a best of reel that we do. And, it's the most fun I've ever had doing anything for YouTube. It's been refreshing, and it's given me a perspective that I didn't have for a while, how good this can be again, and how much I can enjoy it if I let myself enjoy it, So should you guys be curious, is my point. Should you guys be curious, feel free to check it out, because if that thing blew up, I would fucking lose my mind. Like, it would be the happiest day of my life if that channel became something big, because that was, like I said earlier, that was my initial vision for this channel. And if I can somehow make that channel what I originally wanted this to be, it would all be worth it. The last several years, it would all be worth it. Anyway, finally, after fucking an hour of me talking into this microphone, I think I've poured my heart and soul into my thoughts over the last 9 months or so. I hope you guys aren't too disappointed and aren't too upset over these revelations. I'm not going away. This isn't over. You know, the channel's not dead. I'm still doing stuff. I just might be doing things a bit differently, is all. Don't be worried that everything's going to end, is basically my point. In some form or fashion, I will keep this channel going on for a while. I can promise that much. But yeah, just to recap, what do you think of Facecam? Yay or nay? What types of games do you want to see? And what was your favorite time of this channel's existence that you can remember? Answer those questions for me pretty please. I'd really appreciate it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope this has helped you guys gain some sort of understanding on what's been going on the last however many months, and I'm sorry for keeping you in the dark for as long as I have. I guess, you know, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next time very soon. Bye.